The council chamber was designed to intimidate star systems, not tired mercenaries who had slept in the cargo holds of freighters. Its ceiling arched like the inside of a hollowed planet, latticed with glowing conduits that pulsed in rhythm with distant reactors. Holographic maps hovered in the center of the room, casting cold, blue light across officers in sharp uniforms. They argued in low, urgent tones, voices barely audible over the hum of generators. At the center of it all stood Queen Ilara, her skin pale beneath the stress of endless defeats. Her elongated ears twitched with tension as a general reported lost fleets. Names of burned worlds drifted across the hologram like ghosts waiting for remembrance. The doors opened without ceremony. He did not stride in like a hero of legend. Kyle Ardent limped, a slow, deliberate gait honed from years of ignoring pain until pain forced its own will. His armor was ancient, a patchwork of history and modern grafts. Its surface bore scars and dents like a biography etched in metal. Power conduits hummed faintly, almost annoyed to be active. Kyle paused just inside the chamber. All eyes turned to him. Queen Ilara's words halted mid-sentence, lost to the cold air. She stared at the armor, a mixture of shock and disbelief in her gaze. One of her aides cleared his throat, but the sound went unnoticed. The queen moved forward, silent, her long ears shifting like radar. She stopped a breath away from him and touched the engraved chest plate. "This cannot be," she whispered. Ancient sigils glowed faintly beneath her fingers. These markings, they belonged to Erindor the Unbroken. Kyle blinked. That was unfortunate, because his brain had decided that exact moment to go on strike. "I found it in a scrapyard," he muttered, weakly. Her eyes lifted, sharp and searching. "You wear this armor, as if it were ordinary." "It mostly is," Kyle said. "Left shoulder squeaks when it's humid. Knee joint complains if I run too fast." A ripple of disbelief passed through the chamber. Ilara did not laugh, but her expression softened fractionally. 5 centuries ago," she said, "a human in this armor stood where you stand now. He changed the tide of a war my people were meant to lose." Kyle glanced down at the plates, then back at her. "I once turned the tide of a bar fight," he offered. The hint of a dry smirk touched her lips. The generals began to murmur, citing prophecy, strategy, and security concerns. Kyle felt the armor respond to the tension, humming faintly as if amused. "You will come with me to the armory," she commanded. "I need to understand why history has returned to limp and complain about humidity." The armory lay deep beneath the palace, sealed behind layers of force fields keyed to blood, genetics, and authority. Kyle followed Ilara through silent halls, listening to the hum of systems working desperately to hold the empire together. His armor adjusted to the vibrations of the palace as if alive, plates shifting, seals tightening. Inside the armory, Kyle was surrounded by weapons of every era. Sleek energy rifles, dormant relics, and ancient melee weapons in stasis fields. Lights brightened as he stepped in, illuminating the engravings on his armor. They pulsed faintly in response, glowing softly, almost sentient. Ilara circled him, her gaze careful. "Erindor disappeared during the final battle," she said. "No body, no wreckage, only this armor lost to time. Or so we believed." Kyle shifted, uncomfortable under scrutiny. "I told you." "Humidity," he said, defending the squeak of the knee joint. A faint smile flickered across her face before disappearing. "Run a resonance test," she commanded. Low-frequency pulses filled the room. Kyle felt them through his teeth, the armor resonating as if in reply. Images flashed above them. Ghostly echoes of war, fleets in impossible formations, a human figure identical to Kyle moving with precision, dissolving into static as if aware of being watched. "This armor," Ilara whispered, "responds not to bloodline or species, but to intent." Kyle raised an eyebrow. "Judgmental." "Yes," she said softly. A general stepped forward. "Your Majesty, this proves nothing. Anyone could wear it. It does not make him Erindor." "I did not say it did," Ilara replied. She turned to Kyle. "Tell me how you found it." "Derelict ship. No markings. Drifting near a collapsed jump corridor. Compartment sealed, still powered." I'm not your legend, Kyle said quietly. I'm just someone who survives. Ilara studied him, ears tilting outward. So was Erindor, she murmured. Alarms flared. Enemy fleets breached border systems. Kyle felt the armor tighten instinctively. If this is the part where destiny kicks down the door, he muttered, I'd like to officially register my complaint. You may file it after the war, she said. The council reconvened in a chamber older than the palace above, walls carved with star maps of forgotten empires. Kyle noticed someone had tried to clean the armor, failed, leaving the scars intact. A subtle message, perhaps. History cannot be erased. Legends do not fire cannons, snapped a general. No, Kyle said, but people who believe in them usually do. Ilara tilted an ear toward him, inviting more. I don't know your Erindor. I barely know how this armor fits after 5 years. But if people think I sent a legend, they'll be disappointed. Loudly. Legends, she said softly, are not what they are. They are what they do to others. Outside the palace, fleets scrambled. Systems collapsed. Refugees moved through stations, fleeing zones of annihilation. Kyle felt the pull of the armor, its quiet insistence, act. Fear's fine, he said later, standing with Ilara in an observation spire. It means you understand what's at stake. I am afraid, she admitted quietly. Kyle nodded. So am I, he said. But I'll survive. And live with whatever comes next. The next alert came without warning. Enemy forces had committed fully. Kyle sealed the armor, feeling it lock like a final decision. Together, they returned to the command chamber. He studied the battle map. That flank is baited. Fire is being pulled where it looks weakest. I've seen this before. Usually, everything explodes next. Ilara adjusted formations. Moments later, enemy fire tore through the wrong coordinates. Kyle exhaled. I hate being right. The armor hummed, approving. Kyle moved, coordinating strikes instinctively. He was no longer trying to survive, he was trying to win. The enemy flagship emerged, massive, darkening the stars. Kyle interfaced the armor with the fleet network. The ancient technology guided movements, synchronized fire. Shields failed. The enemy retreated, quietly, without ceremony. Silence fell. Cheers erupted across channels. Ilara closed her eyes briefly, then opened them. You chose, she said. The morning came not with light, but with tension. The palace was alive with movement, its corridors thrumming with the pulse of thousands of beings preparing for battle. Kyle Ardent woke before the automated systems finished recalibrating his bed. His armor rested against the wall, quiet now, almost serene. Yet he could feel it vibrating faintly, as if anticipating the day ahead. Ilara entered silently, her long ears uncovered, angled slightly backward in thought. You should be resting, she said. Kyle sat on the edge of the bed, rubbing his temple. I tried. The bed doesn't like me. It adapts, she said softly, surveying the armor. But you adapt it. That is why it chose you. Kyle shook his head. I didn't feel chosen. I felt underpaid. Ilara allowed herself a faint smile, almost human in expression. The galaxy rarely rewards fairness. They moved together through the palace to the command chamber. Outside, fleet activity was already at peak. Ships lifted from emergency docks, energy shields shimmering open, sleek interceptors darting like silver wasps. Kyle paused at the observation deck, taking in the sight. Thousands of eyes were on him, though most did not realize it yet. You feel it too, don't you? Ilara said, tilting her head. The weight of expectation. Not mine, not the Empire's, something older. Something your armor remembers. Kyle's gloved hand brushed the chest plate. I feel history asking questions I don't know the answers to. The first strike came hours later. Reports flooded the chamber. Border colonies breached, supply lines cut, entire stations falling silent. Kyle studied the maps projected above the chamber. Enemy fleets moved with precision, but not strategy. They were aggressive, dangerous, but predictable in their confidence. They underestimate human intuition, Kyle said, tapping the edge of the hologram. They calculate probability, but they don't understand improvisation. Ilara's eyes flicked to him. You think that makes a difference? I know it does, Kyle said. Let me show you. By mid-morning, Kyle was standing among the fleet commanders. No throne between him and the war. The armor hummed as if alive, adapting to the flow of data, the weight of decisions, the anticipation of action. He traced a finger along a map of enemy positions. Watch the left wing, he said. They'll push here. The moment they commit, their center will be exposed. Not by design, they just don't see it. A general frowned. Our simulations indicate stability there. Kyle leaned forward, voice calm, almost bored. Simulations lie. Reality cheats. Ilara raised a hand, and the room fell silent. Then she nodded. Orders rippled outward. Moments later, enemy fire tore through empty space where the fleet would have been. Kyle exhaled. I hate being right. The armor pulsed, steady and approving. Kyle felt it, not as protection, not as legend, but as partnership. The secrets within. As the battle raged across hyperspace corridors, Kyle and Ilara retreated to the armory. The armor had responded to external data streams, but now it demanded understanding. Kyle ran a series of manual scans, probing ancient systems embedded in the plates. Your armor isn't just protective, he muttered. It's interactive. Learning, adapting. Not sentient, but close. Ilara studied him, ears tilted forward. Theos was a legend, yes. But he was human. He adapted, survived. That is the point of legend, not to be remembered, but to act when others falter. Kyle nodded. Then I guess I'm practicing legend without consent. The armor hummed faintly, and Kyle realized it was responding to him, not just the battlefield, but his intent. Small adjustments in posture, the tilt of a finger, the weight of his gaze, these altered the resonance of the armor's internal systems. Show me, Ilara said. Kyle placed his hands on the chest plate. Images shimmered across the walls, battles lost and won, star systems claimed and abandoned, fleets destroyed in impossible formations. Some were familiar, others alien even to Ilara. This armor contains history, she whispered. Not recorded, but experienced. Not just history, Kyle said slowly. It remembers. It guides. And it waits for the right person to listen. The human factor. By evening, the front lines had shifted dramatically. Kyle moved among the commanders, giving directions, correcting assumptions. His armor's presence amplified his authority, not because of legend, but because people instinctively trusted it. Move the Orion squadron to the starboard flank, he said. Now. Delay costs more than risk. The officers obeyed, hesitant at first, then confidently. Kyle smiled faintly. Fear slows decisions. Courage, just willingness to act, saves lives. Ilara observed him from a distance. His movements were precise, but not grandiose. No theatrics, no speeches, no claims of destiny. Just human instinct honed by survival. At one point, an incoming message flashed across the chamber. Enemy flagship approaching the inner rim, shields at maximum, weapons ready. The council murmured panic. Kyle studied the map, fingers tracing vectors faster than any hologram could render. They are counting on us to panic, he said. They want spectacle. We'll give precision. Ilara's ears twitched. You do this without hesitation. I do it because hesitation kills, Kyle said. Not legend. Not prophecy. Just survival. The enemy flagship advanced. Laser salvos tore through space, shields flaring and collapsing. Kyle interfaced directly with the armor, feeding coordination signals to the fleet network. Ancient technology guided modern ships, movement synchronized like a living organism. The flagship faltered. Shields dropped. Enemy retreated. Silence fell. Ilara closed her eyes briefly. When she opened them, she looked at Kyle with awe. You chose, she said. Someone had to, Kyle replied. A quiet interlude. After the battle, the palace felt different. Lighter. The weight of fear had lifted. Kyle found a quiet observation spire, overlooking distant stars and abandoned debris fields. Ilara joined him. "You used me," Kyle said softly. "Yes," she replied. "And so did they." "Fair," he said, glancing at the armor. "But what now? They will call me legend. Prophecy. Catalyst. I don't like titles." "You do not have to," Ilara said. "You act, and the universe interprets. That is enough." Kyle studied the stars. "I'm afraid," he admitted. "Not of dying. Of living with whatever comes next. Of responsibility." Ilara nodded slowly. "That is the human way. And the reason humans survive when gods falter." The armor pulsed faintly. Kyle ran a hand over it. "We make choices," he said. "Even when the universe wants to write the script for us." "Yes," she whispered. "Even then." The Empire reacts. Over the following weeks, Kyle moved like a shadow through the Empire. Fleets realigned, colonies stabilized, and enemy movements became predictable. Everywhere he went, whispers followed. The human in ancient armor, the one who survived against all odds, the one who acted when prophecy faltered. Some called him legend. Others, a catalyst. Kyle ignored them all. He did his work. In training simulations, the armor revealed new abilities. Shields that could absorb energy and redirect it. Motion sensors that predicted enemy movement. Tactical overlays that interfaced directly with his mind. Each discovery amazed Ilara. "This armor," she said one night, "was never meant for one person. It is a tool. But you are something else entirely. You are the human factor." Kyle smirked. Not feeling legendary yet. Just tired. A threat beyond the stars. Then came the warning. Sensors detected an anomaly. A massive fleet beyond known space, not following conventional strategy, cloaked in interference fields that masked their approach. Even Ilara's experience could not predict their movements. "They are different," she said. "I've never seen coordination like this." Kyle examined the data. They adapt faster than any simulation. They don't follow patterns. They anticipate reactions. This is not a war we've fought before. Ilara's ears lifted, tense. "We will need more than strategy." Kyle's eyes met hers. "We will need instinct." The armor hummed faintly, almost eagerly. Kyle could feel it responding to something beyond sensors, something old, something waiting. He tapped a finger against the chest plate. "Looks like legend has more work to do." The first strike of the new war. When the enemy fleet engaged, Kyle's instincts and the armor's guidance were put to the ultimate test. Entire fleets danced in impossible formations. Ships that seemed doomed performed coordinated retreats, then flanked in unpredicted vectors. Kyle moved with the armor as if they were one being. Energy shields flared. Laser barrages shifted mid-flight. Enemy ships faltered under assaults they had not calculated. Ilara watched in amazement, her long ears quivering with tension. "I've never seen a human fight like this," she whispered. Kyle allowed himself a faint smirk. "Neither had I." The battle ended with the enemy retreating again, leaving behind wreckage and unanswered questions. Kyle stood amid the silent command chamber, armor humming faintly, aware that the next challenge would be even greater. Ilara stepped forward. "You are more than legend. You are the human factor. And we need that more than ever." Kyle glanced at the armor. "I'm ready. But I'm charging double next time." The armor pulsed. Content. Outside, stars burned silently, indifferent witnesses to human choice, resilience, and defiance. "Someone had to," Kyle replied, exhausted but alive. Days later, the palace felt lighter. Repairs underway. Hope was no longer whispered, it was spoken aloud. Kyle stood in the council chamber, scarred armor resting, eyes on the Queen. "The historians will argue," Ilara said. "Legend, coincidence, catalyst." "Let them," Kyle smiled faintly. "I'm not good at labels." "And what will you do?" she asked. "For once," he said, I'll choose. The prophecy is fulfilled, she said, ears lifting in respect. Not because you were destined, but because you decided to stay. Kyle paused at the doors. If another war starts, he said, I'm charging consultation fees. Ilara laughed, clear and unburdened. The armor hummed softly, no longer leading, no longer waiting, content that history had survived through human choice.